Hi everyone! Today I want to share a story with you. You guys often ask me questions about my art journey towards becoming an independent artist, how I did it, how long it took, and how I knew when my art was good enough. So let's talk about that. I'll try to be as open and transparent as possible, not hiding any major factors, so let's just jump right into it. First and foremost, I want to share my background story with you. Because I didn't always want to live off of my art. In fact, I often fought against it. I've always been drawing a lot, and I used it as some sort of escapism into a sort of a fantasy world for my head. So when people started to suggesting or questioning if I should pursue art as my career, I waved it away because I didn't like the idea of turning my passion and escapism into my job. So I went on throughout my entire teenage life just drawing for fun and taking the occasional commission on work. Taking commissions gave me a taste of how art could be if it was a job. And it's not that I didn't like taking commissions, but I couldn't do it all the time. I definitely couldn't do it full time. I needed to draw my own stuff for the most part. Fast forward approximately 4 years and I just moved away from home, got myself a part-time job at the local game, later GameStop, while I was taking the multimedia designer education. I had almost stopped drawing completely right now. I was sort of on a drawing break, so to speak. I was focusing on my education and I was pursuing a career in either graphic design or video games. I tried to incorporate drawing a bit into my education, but since I didn't draw much, I didn't feel like I was good enough anymore to use my art in any educational or job-related situation for that matter. So I focused mainly on graphic design and programming. Fast forward one more time, approximately 3 years, and you'll find me at the university, just about to graduate as a Bachelor of Mediology. During the 3 years I was in uni, I still barely drew. I had started drawing a bit more compared to a few years ago, but I was mainly focusing on programming. Turns out I have some sort of interest and knack for programming. And it also turns out that graphic design and me were not a match made in heaven, but I really like programming. During this time, I liked to create games in Unity, but I hated using preset graphics, so I started drawing my own characters for my little games. My bachelor graduation assignment was a 2D game with a branching narrative based on Alice in Wonderland, only the setting was an asylum. Pretty dark, very inspired by the Alice Madness games. But I didn't do much art besides study-related stuff. And this bachelor project was probably the most I had drawn in a long time, honestly. Okay, hold on. I need to pause here and tell you about one other little aspect as to why I didn't draw much for 6 whole years of my life. I also had cosplay as a hobby, and in this time I made a lot of costumes. I was still being creative, using my hands to build stuff and wear it for conventions, and even took my part on the stage. Can you imagine? There simply wasn't room and time for 2 big hobbies. So for these 6 years or so, I chose cosplay, education, and video games over art. Simple as that. Okay, let's resume the video. So after I graduated, I had 1 week off and then I started at my new full-time job as an e-learning developer at a major company in Denmark. This had previously been my study part-time job for a few years, and now it was my full-time job. My job was basically that I developed animated e-learning explainer videos with vector graphics I drew in Illustrator myself. So I did bring my creative skill set or my drawing skills into this job, but it was very different kinds of illustrations than what I do today. For a short time everything was fine and dandy, but then someday it just hit me. 1 year into my new full-time job, I was introduced to Undertale. And I jumped in with both feet. I joined the fandom and started contributing to it with fan art. This is when I realized how damn much I had missed drawing. It was like a huge inspirational force made me go on a journey I had longed for so long. I almost quit cosplay completely overnight, picked up my stylus and turned the following year into my probably most productive year of my entire life. That was the main background story. I'm going to pick up now where I left off, but focus on the career-wise aspects. Because this is about the time when you start to get to know me, if you have been on this journey for as long as I have. The year is now 2016 and I am on a roll, art-wise. My Instagram was growing, I thrived in the Undertale fandom, I even had my own comic and AU that people seemed to like, weirdly enough. And my creativity was higher than ever. I didn't think of making art into my career yet, but I was starting to feel less and less connected to my full-time job. You can sort of say I considered it being in the way of my creativity, and I started drifting apart from it. Flash forward to 2017 and I had moved out of the Undertale fandom and started to work on my own stuff instead. I started developing characters, exploring painting techniques, was heavily focused on my art style. I felt like I had found my muse again or something. This year is also when my YouTube took off. I changed my username from Nadiaxel to Nadiaxel, and at the end of the year I had reached almost my first 10,000 subscribers. And that was actually because I uploaded a rant video on someone begging me for free art and then calling me really bad names for politely saying no. But years later I took down the video because I didn't want to gain followers who thought this was the kind of content I would make in the future, because it definitely wasn't. And it isn't. But most importantly, 2017 was the year I decided to quit my full-time job. I now knew I wanted to pursue art as a career, and I had a very clear strategy in that regard. Are you ready for it? I had to become an influencer. I used to hate, absolutely despise being associated with that word, because there were a lot of bad influencers in the beginning or back then, spreading a really bad reputation to good influencers. You have to remember that influencers was something relatively new at this point, and it wasn't really clear if it was a job or it was just like something people did. And a lot of influencers, unfortunately, were just seen as freeloaders and greedy people in some way. But I'm much more content with the term today, because the term influencers is more contained now, and we know what it means when someone is an influencer. You see, I realized back in 2018 that influencers basically live off of doing what they love, or what they're good at least. I was good at and loved to draw, so why not become an artist influencer? I started focusing heavily on my social channels to try and make them grow, YouTube especially, because you can get revenue through ads. And I needed to be able to put food on the table, obviously. And here's a detail more, in case you're wondering. I am married, and my husband had my back all the way when I did this, even when I quit my full-time job without any savings for the entire first year into my journey. He supported me when I couldn't, and I am forever grateful for that. Financially, I wasn't ready for this step, but my entire being was, and I knew I had to do it. I really just had to try. It was a strategy for me in the beginning to sort of try and figure out what I was good at. And it quickly turned out that educational content on my channel was most popular, so I started making guides and tutorials on my YouTube. Then everything changed in January 2018 when my video for beginner artists to become digital artists was uploaded. That video alone is responsible for almost 60,000 of my subscribers and 24% of my income from YouTube throughout my entire lifetime on YouTube. I have been really lucky with a couple of videos that gained more than 500,000 views, because they are the real moneymakers, so to speak. 2018 was also the first year I got to review a tablet on my channel, something that I've been doing a lot since then. I also started getting inquiries? Oh my god, this word. I thought I knew it. I also started getting inquiries in my inbox. I'm going to say inquiries. You may hate me if it's wrong. From people and companies who wanted to work with me on my channel. And at this point I had around, I think it was around 10,000 subscribers, maybe 15,000, but I don't think it was more than that. So you don't have to be bigger than that to start getting a lot of inquiries knocking on your inbox's door. So 2018 was also the year where I abandoned my old Instagram profile and started anew. That was the best decision I could possibly have made for my account. My old account was definitely starting to tread water. You see, I had been using it for fan art from the Undertale fandom, and it's only natural that, well, when a fandom dies or you just move on like I did, the engagement drops faster than an anchor without water, okay? It was hard starting out anew, but ultimately it was worth it, and I had relatively quickly gained all of my 5,000 followers back and more even, and today we have over 60,000 followers, so it was definitely worth it. I have an entire video explaining why I did this, so if you want to check it out, it's a bit old, but I'll put it in the description if you want to see it. And in case you're unaware, I use my Instagram to post weekly or more often with the artwork that I do not use for YouTube. So if you want to follow my work more intensely and in detail, Instagram is right now the place. I use YouTube for my bigger productions, you know, my videos and stuff, and less for all of the daily kind of stuff. However, I really want to use my community tab more, so expect to see a lot more artwork from me in this feed on YouTube in the future. Okay, back to the story. By the end of 2018, I was able to sustain a steady income from YouTube, and when 2019 arrived, I got my first real sponsor partner. And you know, guys, who this is, because I've been working with them for years. Let's say it's a certain learning platform mentioned every month on my channel with a lot of free trials. I was so proud to finally be able to work with a company and getting sponsored. And 2019 was in fact the year where a lot of my new partners and sponsors joined my channel. I am so grateful for this journey. It took me almost 3 years to become just self-sustaining as an artist. So let's sum up what I've told. 2017, that's when I started pursuing my YouTube career. By the end of 2018, it had become sustaining enough through a mix of sponsorships and ad revenue for me to live off of it. Barely living, but living nonetheless. Believe me, not all YouTubers are rich, okay? Some of us are just getting by. In 2019, that's when a lot of my partners that I work with today landed in my inbox. And 2020, well, let's just say that 2020 was a crazy year. Suddenly, everyone were home and watching more YouTube than ever. So it was indeed a busy year for influencers, and I did also manage to question my very existence a few times before ultimately and finally moving into this year 2021 with a fresh start. So here I am in 2021, still doing the YouTube thingy, and now I also expanded to Patreon, to Twitch and my own online store. For future goals, wow, I would absolutely love to be able to create my own online course with more in-depth tutorials and exercises, and gosh, that is a dream for me in the future. And I really also hope to start my very own first Kickstarter campaign this year, but I'll share more details on that later. And to very shortly also address the when am I good enough to do this question. I first have to say that not everyone are as lucky as me that they can just quit their job without any security net or something to fall on, because I had a security net and that was my husband. But if you start making money off of your art on the side, beside whatever else you're doing, that's a good indicator that you are actually good enough. Someone, in some way, either through ad revenue or through sponsorships or through commissions, they're paying you for your work. And that means you're good enough. I suppose it's about getting those deals. So my advice on when am I good enough is to actually focus on your social channels so you can be found. Because when people realize you're there will be people asking for your stuff. And when people start to ask for your stuff, that's when you're good enough. That's kind of like a rough estimate at least. So you can use that as some sort of pointer or guide, but all of our cases are individual. And maybe in your case, it would be worth to actually reach out to someone you would like to work with It's very common for people to reach out to potential partners. Heck, that's what happens when you get inquiries in your inbox. People reaching out to you, you can reach out to people as well. Just don't get bummed out if you get a decline. I've got my share of declines as well, so that will happen sometimes. But you're good enough when you feel good enough and when you're starting to earn something off of your art. If you are on my Patreon, I upload exclusive content every week. Last week I uploaded the almost real-time version of this painting. That's almost 4 hours of slow painting process for you guys. And I also uploaded the entire draft of my new short comic with Mocha and Damon. My Patreon is $5 a month plus VAT. There is a charge up front, but then you also get immediate access to all of the rewards directly in the feed. You just have to scroll down and everything is there. I hope you enjoyed the video and found the info somewhat useful or inspiring or maybe just informative. Maybe you just like to listen to me talk. Maybe you hate listening to me talk and you have no idea what you're doing here. Please leave a like before you leave. There's so much more I could talk about here, but I generally don't know when to stop, so I better stop the video here. If you want to support me and make sure I keep making videos, hit the like button, leave a comment for super ultra support, and share this video with your friends to super ultra mega ring-a-ling ding dong support my work. I don't know why that has become a part of what I'm saying. Until next time, guys, take care. Bye.